I'm connecting from India. My name is Sandra Oberoi, and I chair the Advocacy Committee. And it's so lovely to see all of you here joining us today. So I'm just quickly going to tell you a little bit about the ISME Café. This is an idea that's birthed out of the Advocacy Committee's talks with several different organizations, with university professors, with music teachers in schools, with people across different disciplines even, and looking at having, this is a response actually, looking at having a space that is safe, that involves anyone and everyone to come and reflect on a topic that is presented for that day, and perhaps connect a network over it. We will have some time to get into breakout rooms as well. So it's really an informal space. Feel free to go and bring in some coffee, tea, a drink, some juice, whatever it is, because we want to encourage positive, easy talks. And that's really where this whole idea came from. We have two wonderful people here with us today who are going to talk a little more about the ISME's Disability and Technology in Music Education, the SIG. I'm sorry, Disability and Technology in Music. So ISME has different committees, commissions, and SIG. So SIG is a special interest group, in case you haven't heard about it. And this here that we have today represented is something called a SIG. And we have two chairs who are here with us today. That's Lee Cheng and Adam Patrick Bell, who've joined us. I'll quickly tell you a little bit about them. Lee Cheng is an interdisciplinary art teacher and researcher. His research and artistic interests include music, technology, education, computer games, immersive and interactive media, digital and sonic arts, law, and policy. Quite a range. He is currently working as associate professor in games at Anglia Ruskin University and serving different roles in multiple organizations, including on the board of and the executive board of ISME. Co-opted council member of the Royal Musical Association, theory examiner of ABRSM, arts education examiner of the Hong Kong Arts Development Council, and editorial board member of Humanities and Social Sciences Communication, International Journal of Music Education, and Journal of Music, Technology, and Education. Thank you for joining us today, Lee. It's so lovely to have you here. Adam Patrick Bell is an associate professor of music education at Western University, Canada. He is the author of Dawn of the Day, that's an Oxford publication in 2018, and editor of the Music Technology Cookbook, another publication from Oxford 2020. Adam is the editor of Canadian Music Educator and serves on the editorial boards of International Journal of Music Education, Journal of Music Technology and Education, Journal of Popular Music Education, Visions of Research in Music Education, and TOPICS topics. Currently, Adam is the principal investigator of 3 studies funded by the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada that focuses on disability and music education. And today their topic is disability and technology in music education. So enough from me. The floors I'm transferring to both of you, and we'll hold our questions perhaps for the very end. When we go into breakout rooms, we can discuss a little more about what has just been shared with us. But please treat this as an informal space, and we hope you have fun. Thank you for joining us this evening. One more quick little tidbit to share with you. We're going to share a link to a chat or a survey, an anonymous survey that you will receive at the end as well once you shut your meeting. I presume that's how it works. But I'll share the link here as well. Please, please share your feedback with us. It's really important because that helps us then frame future ISME Cafe meetings. Thank you very much. Over to you both, Adam and Lee.
Okay, now start first. Properly you see the screen, right? Okay, and then you also hear me, so there you get me some response as well. So the topic is about disability and technology in music education, and I'm Lee. We also have Adam here. So to start off with, I will introduce some of the terminology that we use to describe whatever people we're looking at that is a valuable group of people in music education. Well, because it's quite varies a lot across the global. For example, in Hong Kong, we call it special needs education. But in more general sense, we have something called functional diversity. I guess it's more a bigger umbrella, I would say, which is initialized in spring in 2005 in academic writing, covering any kind of valuable conditions such as special needs, disability, impairment, and handicap. And then in the UK, we use a term which is called special education needs and disabilities, which you probably can see it highlights the special education needs and also the disability. But the disability, in other sense, could mean other kind of things as well. Again, it depends on which country you are or which kind of group or which angle that you are looking at them. So it could be including quite a number of cognitive, developmental, intellectual, mental, physical, sensory, or combination of all those multiple factors. And then we have different kind of models of disability. Well, I won't say the most famous, but the most common one is the medical model, which we see the disability is a problem to solve. So people referred to as disabled, they are often considered as abnormal, which is unusual, abnormal. And that's something that we should be fixing it from a medical kind of angle. But of course, this kind of model, it's going to be replaced perhaps by other kinds of model that will be introduced by Adam as well. Adam, your turn.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. Well, hi everyone. It's nice to see you all. My name's Adam Bell. I'm in London, Ontario, and that's on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenape, and Chinookan peoples. And so I'm just grateful to be here, and just want to mention that any kind of knowledge produced kind of came from this area. And since this is sort of the first thing related to the special interest group, Disability Studies and Music Education, I also want to thank some of the people that helped organize that. So that's Jesse Rathgeber, who I think is here today, Juliet Hess, Warren Churchill, Tula Giles, and Stefan Sunan and Hanish. And I would say that if we go to the next slide, Lee, probably all of us that are interested in disability studies have been influenced by what's called the social model of disability. And if I can call your attention to the image on the right, we have a wheelchair user at the base of a staircase. And it might be hard to see, but the sign says polling station. And this is a nice illustration of social model thinking, the idea that what's preventing this voter from voting is the infrastructure. And so a lot of these ideas come out of the disability rights movement, and Michael Oliver is a big, hotshot disability studies scholar known for talking about the social model. And so it's quite important in disability studies. And there are lots of models, but this is quite a common one. And probably a big idea that's come out of the social model is this idea of making a distinction between impairment and disability. So the idea that people have impairments, not disabilities, and that the disablement comes from society. So if we can go to the next slide, Lee, please. I just wanted to mention a couple interesting ideas and theories. It's certainly not comprehensive, and if you're familiar with disability studies, it might be a bit underwhelming, but if you're new to it, these might be some kind of new ideas to think about. And I really like the cover of the original version of Tom Shakespeare's book, Disability Rights and Wrongs, because it's very much a disability rights image with knives as the handle, so as to say, hands off my wheelchair. And what I like about Shakespeare's work is he really talks about context quite nicely in nuanced and complex ways, to the extent where he talks about instances in which perhaps disability could be bad. And this, of course, causes a lot of discomfort and even anger in disability communities. But I think these are important ideas to think about, and questions I put on the slide are like, how do you perceive disability? And you think about disability as negative or neutral or positive. And so we'll go to the next idea. And this is a more recent book by Elizabeth Barnes called The Minority Body. And she put forward this idea of the mere difference view. And she likens disability to other ways of being minoritized. So she uses examples of race, ethnicity, gender, sexuality, so on. And a key idea is that disability doesn't make you worse off, and disability could be an identity to celebrate. And so this kind of taps into the disability pride movement. So those are just a few ideas I wanted to throw your way today. And the last one is that there's critical work in disability studies that pushes back against ideas all the time. And that's kind of one of the things I really appreciate about the field. And so one idea I'll throw your way is from the late Christopher Bell, who pointed out that a lot of the ideas in disability studies came from white scholars. And so it was missing the knowledge of people of color, Indigenous people, Black people who are disabled. So I'll leave the kind of theory ideas there, but just to sort of get things stewing and think about some things. And then I thought we could maybe look at some of these ideas in the context of music briefly. So we'll go to the next slide and have two images of a piano keyboard. So we'll pick on the piano today, but I could pick on any instrument. I'm not going after the pianists. But in one image, we have a smaller piano key width, and the other image, we have a standard piano key width. It's the same hand. So the point is that when we think about the infrastructures of music, we can think about adjusting our bodies, or you might hear me say the term body mind a lot today, to whatever we're using in music. But to flip it, like in social model thinking, we can think about changing those infrastructures. So we can change, the instrument, or we make a new instrument. So that's like one way of sort of thinking social model way in music. And we'll go to the next one. And I think I just kind of pose this general question that I'll read. So what do these presumptions say about my body mind, your body mind, and anyone else's body mind? And my answer to that is that there's an understood standard issue body mind in music programs. And when I say body mind, I'm borrowing a term from Margaret Price, a disability studies scholar. And it's not meant to be body and mind, it is, but it's to also recognize that these things are connected, of course, which is helpful in talking about disability and how we conceptualize disability. So when I think about my experiences in music school or working in a university, I think about like who is included and who is excluded based on the things that we value, even the instruments that we play, which is something I focus a lot in my own work, and sort of why we're talking a bit about technology today. So to sort of wrap up this kind of theoretical part, I want to think about how what we do in music reflects our social values. So the things that we use, even how we spend our money, reflects what we value, and gets to this idea of like, what do we implicitly or explicitly value or devalue in music education? And I think the next one is Lee. Yeah.
Yes. So currently we have a lot of efforts and attempts trying to take into consideration the diversity that we have for different kind of people. As much as we have this kind of like F-line outboard, I don't know what's it, but that's kind of pathway for those who cannot do the steps. This is what we have in our society, but also we have similar attempts also in music education as well. Especially, I have seen a problem that the current music instrument design, I mean those you have in schools, in orchestras, they do not take too much consideration of this kind of social model of disability. In other words, it's those kind of musical instruments that we have in orchestras in schools, they are for those who are able to do this. That kind of mentality may not be changed in a short time because we have the music curriculum in schools that needs to be developed, but it takes a lot of time. But at least in terms of research and development, there are a lot of things that we can do, especially when we talk about music technology, which is supposedly more innovative, more explorative, or more experimental, perhaps, that we can develop a lot of different kind of technology for people, different kind of people to make music. And that also comes with a lot of different kind of trends nowadays. For example, we have STEM, we have maker movement, we have all those DIY kind of movement also in different kind of communities. That kind of things are now not only for those who has the like technological mindset to develop the music technology for all kind of people, but also you can involve other kind of approaches, such as we can co-design with those who may not be good with those musical instruments in schools. They could be also be involved to develop the musical instrument themselves as well. So there has been a lot of attempts around the world. One of the most famous one is the Drang Music Lab in UK, which they develop a lot of different kind of instruments. Both they attempt to alternate the existing instrumental designs, such as the guitar you see on the slide, and also they make something that it's quite deviated from the conventional musical instrument design, such as the graph that you see here. They use the graph to detect the movement of the hand and translate those movements into numbers, and then into MIDI, and then into musical notes, so that you can play music with your hand movement. That kind of translation, it's quite much a hot topic in just that kind of research and development in musical instruments. So back to you, Adam.
Yeah, thanks. So I've been researching Drake Music Lab in London for a few years, influenced by their model. And one of the first things I learned is that it would be better for me to try to do work like this in my own community than just simply observe other people doing it. So somewhat mirroring the Drake Music model, me and some colleagues here in Canada established CAMIN, which stands for the Canadian Accessible Musical Instruments Network. And we have three aims, which are to make accessible instruments, mentor disability-led music-making communities, and manifest disability perspectives on these experiences. And I noticed Jay Dason is here in the room, so I wanted to give a shout out to Jay because he's worked with our group before and does amazing things. And Jay is now leading Drake Music Northwest in Manchester. So I wanted to show you a couple examples of things we've done. So the picture here is of Dylan Lambert Monroe, who's a musician based in Calgary. And in the top right-hand corner, you can see a screenshot of a digital audio workstation, or DAW, that he uses called FL Studio. And then the main image is of this prototyped MIDI controller that a group called Blurring the Boundaries Arts, based in Montreal, helped make for Dylan. And it's not a coincidence, but the person you saw with the Telecaster guitar, Charles Matthews, is in Canada now and actually designed this prototype. So there's lots of connections there. And the other artist that I should mention is Gift Chuma. So we worked all together on this and just researching the process. So it's like one example. And a lot of the things that we do often look like this, or they're software based. And people come back to me and say like, hey, like, what about like instruments that we're more familiar with? So the next slide shows you sort of a counter example. If you can go to that, please, Lee. And this is a trombone that we essentially put on a cymbal stand for a young student because that's what they wanted. So at the end of the day, you know, we work with people to lead their own designs. That's what disability-led design is all about. So you tell us how we can help make music making experiences more accessible for you, and we follow your lead. So those are just like a couple of examples of the kinds of things we're working on. We also do artist residencies. I think it's really important to pay people for these artist residencies to make music and share their experiences through music. So yes, it's about the instruments, but of course it's not just about the instruments, it's about making music and being part of a music community. So that's kind of what we're all about. Just wanted to give you like a little sample of some of the stuff we've done to date. And I think I'll pass it back over to Lee now.
So in terms of technology, there could be different kind of technology that can be made available. Well, it can be through hardware, the kind of hardware means, such as you design the instrument from electronics, those circuit boards. That's pretty much trendy in STEM and DIY education. At the same time, there are also some existing means existing platforms that you can develop the musical instrument from. For example, developing digital musical instruments for computers, for smartphones, for tablets, and so on. So one of the advantage of this kind of design in digital musical instrument design, make it available in this kind of mobile devices, is that almost everyone could get access to mobile devices. So if anyone have a smartphone, he or she may be able to download the app, which is a digital musical instrument, and use it right away. You don't have to send the hardware instrument to him or her, that he can access it quite more easily through this kind of digital means. And this is also one of the projects that I'm working with Gigi Lam from University of Southampton, which is the design is very simple. It's something like this. I hope you hear this, but if you don't, that's sound coming out. Yes, there's sound, and probably you can imagine that the design is very simple. When you raise the phone up, then the pitch will go up. When you place the phone down, the pitch will go down. Of course, you can map it to different kind of musical parameters, such as the dynamics, the volumes, the articulations, and so on. And the phone also has 3 different kind of orientation as well. So it doesn't really have to be up or down. It could be left or right, or front and back, that kind of thing. So there are actually a lot of possibility within this kind of smartphones or other kind of mobile devices. And of course, if you design instruments in computers, there are even more affordability that you can design a lot more things for anyone. So this is something that I work with Gigi Lam in more community settings. We try to implement this handy app in communities so that we also decided some of those music lessons, music plans, and paid group activities so that it could be made use with musical activities.
Especially with Jamie, he's very musically orientated. He loves music, he loves sound, but he finds it very hard to do things in a set order to get the right noise. And if you do something where you're playing, for example, blowing a record or something, he wouldn't have the dexterity, but he can move things and make the noise, and that would interest him because it would give him a way to take part and a way to get into the music, which he can't do normally. He normally gets left behind.
Isn't it? The sensory, the auditory sensory sensation of music and the rhythm as well.
Limited input but get a really big output for them, and I think that's a really big selling point for the app, is that it is accessible.
Right here, and I'm using it at the moment. I think it will be used very well in settings where young people need to experience sensory music making. As a therapy, it would be really interesting to see about the idea that they are the person is controlling the sound.
So this project is kind of finished, but we are also looking into the second phase of the development to develop more like a VR musical instruments that you can move your head with the VR headset to create sound, and that will be even more accessible to some group of people. But at the same time, I also want to say that we have introduced the medical model. Maybe I just close the slide first. We have introduced the medical model and also the social model, but there are also other kind of models of disability. For example, the cultural model of disability, which briefly means that all this kind of diversified people, they have their own culture. They may also have their own musical activities and the sense and value of music as well. I mean the affective value of music. And that means the music they may not be meaningful to other people, but they could be meaningful to them as well. So there are different kind of disability that we are looking at that may not be now considered in our human society. But of course, there are more to do and to make the world more equal. that's pretty much I want to say. Adam, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm good.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you both for sharing that insightful presentation. I think we can get into breakout rooms now. And here we are. Great. Sorry, folks, a bit of confusion there. Well, there's the link that I've posted for you to please fill out. This is the anonymous online survey that will enable us to understand what you felt from today. Just give us a little brief on what you think we could improve on or whatever it is. I've shared it. There we go. Is everybody able to see the link that I've put in?
No,
the chat?
Sandra, you sent it to me. Huh?
No, I sent it to you first and then to everyone, I think. Yeah. Did you want to add any final comments, Adam and Lee, based on perhaps the discussions you led in your rooms? Or does anybody have questions for our speakers today?
Well, I guess the things that I want to conclude is that there are attempts in music technology for disability in music education, but there are much more to do, not only about the technology itself, but the facilitation of how the technology could be happening in different kind of music teaching and learning contexts. And so there could be research and development, there could be practice-based, and whatever kind of effort is needed to make sure things are happening.
Sandra, the one thing I would say is that in our group, we were just talking about what people are doing or what they're interested in, what they're researching, what they're teaching. And there's lots of really great things happening. And so, my hope is that maybe at the next conference or one in a few years, like we hear what happens with those studies. So I think it's really encouraging. There's great work happening in this area, and it's nice for us to be able to get together and have a forum to just learn about each other's work informally.
Yeah, you talk about conference, and we should do some sort of advertisement, right, Sandra? We have the main conference, ISME main conference in this coming summer in Helsinki, Finland. So
That's
you
right.
still have, yeah, we still have time to submit your abstract or poster or whatever kind of proposal to to make sure you are there to present your work. So the deadline is currently the
October
2nd of October.
Yeah, October 2nd for the main conference, and then for the pre-conferences. So there are a couple of different pre-conferences running as well, and that is November 1st. So yeah, that would be really nice. And I'm wondering, from perhaps looking at each other's work, if you found synergies between the work, that if, this might be the place that we network and probably grow our ideas. That would be really wonderful as well. And do stay in touch if you, sorry, did you want to say something, Shri?
Yes, there's a question, Sandra, from
Yeah.
Jacqueline.
Adam, you mentioned that there was a contact list. Where can we find that? It would be helpful to be able to contact this group with questions in the future. So we have a full contact list of everybody that signed up for today's meeting, and that's about 60 plus people. And Adam and Lee have access to that as well. So I would encourage you both, Adam and Lee, to write an email, send an email out to everyone. So you can all be perhaps in touch. The people who've attended today would definitely, you can connect with each other.
And also
That's one way to go about it.
In the conference as well, because we have a new disability studies SIG that could get a lot of people with the same interest in the main conference as well. Yeah.
Yes. I don't know if they have a Facebook page yet. Do they? Shri, do you know if they have?
We don't have anything. We have a name, and
Hey,
we're a drop-down option for ISME. And that's great, and that's a start. And we'll see, if we can build it from here.
We've just built the website, a page on the website, the main website. There's another question
Yes, the ISME pre-conference seminar and special music ed and special music and music therapy may also be particularly relevant for this group. That is right. You're right. Thank you, Erin, for pointing us to that. And all of this information is sitting on the main ISME website, isme.org. And then there's a space where you have the separate conference website as well. And from there, you can go into the pre-conference websites. And yes, you're right. There are plenty. And even musicians, health and wellness, that's another group that would perhaps be of interest to some of you. Well, great. If we don't have any questions, we've wrapped up slightly earlier than we'd usually do, but I think it's the start of great conversation. So look out for ISME Cafe sessions like this. The next one is being hosted by the music and instrumental teachers in schools. What is Mystic? Oh my gosh. Lee, help me out here. What is Mystic?
So
Music in
schools and teacher education.
Yes, Mystic Commission.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Yes. Oh my gosh, we have plenty. There's Mystic, there's CPROM, there's ECME, oh my gosh, there's plenty. So Mystic is doing the next one on the 21st of October, followed by one in November. I believe it's the second week of November by ECME, which is the early childhood music. And then we have the Research Commission doing one in January. So there's so much of excitement happening in terms of the cafe. So please stay in touch. You will find more information popping up on the ISME Facebook page as well as the ISME advocacy page. So if you haven't liked us yet, please give us a like and you'll find more information popping up. And I'm going to do my best to see that you all stay connected. So Adam and Lee will definitely send out that email and I'll also stay plugged in and hope that this is the start to something wonderful. And we hope to see many of you at the conference as well. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, afternoon, evening. It's just been so great to see you all. Thank you for your time.